In this video, we'll be talking about UV mapping and unwrapping an object to give it UVs. So first of all, what is a UV? Well, a UV is, imagine if you were to basically unwrap this as if it were a chocolate wrap, like the wrapping around the chocolate, and you were to stretch it across a flat surface. Before we start UVing this, I want to kind of show you exactly what this is. So we're going to go to UV editing, this window right here. We're going to go into edit mode, which we already are in edit mode. And you can see right here that we have this flat surface on which we'll be sort of unwrapping and spreading this model. This is the UV surface. Right now, if we go to faces and we select everything, you can see that for every face that we have here, we have something corresponding to this particular UV space. Right now, however, some of these UVs are pretty broken, as you can see with this right here. The way it's supposed to work is, you should have this face represented exactly right over here. For example, this face, you can see it's represented really clearly right over here, while this one is not. So, in order for us to kind of see what's broken, what isn't, and how our UV unwrapping goes, we'll need to create a material which we're going to use to sort of check ourselves. We're going to create a new material. We're going to call it UV material. And here in base color, we're going to generate an image which is going to help us verify how the UVs look. So I press the yellow dot and I go to texture and I find image texture right here, and I press image texture and I press the new button. Here I'm going to give this image a name, UV grid. You can name it, of course, however you like. And I'm going to create a bigger grid, 2048 by 2048. And the generated type, I'm going to go with color grid. You can also use UV grid. I prefer color grid. It doesn't make any difference, really. I'm going to press OK. So now you can see that our image here became this colorful grid with these letters on it. In order for us to see this thing in action, we can either press texture from the drop-down menu over here and press texture, or we can go straight up to the material view, which is right here. Choose which one you prefer better. I'm personally a fan of the material view because it has some lighting in it, but it doesn't really matter. So what we can see right now is that, for example, this particular face over here looks awesome, while these ones don't. What you want to have with your model is have every surface be like this. You're able to read the letters clearly and the numbers, and you're able to see the squares, and they are squares. They're not, for example, rectangles like this one. On this one, you can read the letters, but you have this weird stretching going on. While here, while they do look good, on the other side they don't. Right here, you basically are unable to see anything. They're just so smushed. So, there are several ways we can go about fixing this. The main thing we want to do is basically, however, to create a brand new UV, like to unwrap this thing with a brand new UV unwrapping. We can do this in several ways. The first one, which is the easiest one, but it may not be the most recommended one, you'll see why soon, is by doing this in an automated fashion. So, if I press A and select all of the faces, I can go to UV and press Smart UV Project, and then press OK. And then it auto-generates for us a UV map. On most surfaces, it looks good. Here it looks kind of stretched, but it's still workable. However, with it being stretched like this, it really kind of, the results you're going to get from the automatic unwrap aren't always as good as you might think. So it's usually better to do things by hand, especially if you're a production 3D artist, if you're working in a production environment. So how do we do this? We're going to mark seams in edge mode where we want this model to be split up and unwrapped. So what we're looking for is flat surfaces, because flat surfaces tend to unwrap way better than angled ones. And we're going to start doing it by selecting the edges of the flat surfaces. And then, once we've selected the edges that we want, we're going to press right-click and say mark seam, this right here. This basically means right now that this is going to get detached from the UV here, and it's going to become its very own little piece, and you're going to see what I mean real soon. The next one we're going to track out is this one, mark seam. The next one is this right here. Again, I'm selecting the edges in edge mode. And I'm pressing mark seam. And just so you can see, oh, we're going to need to select this one right here. Let's do the same for this one, just so you can see how it will look. We'll be separating these surfaces as well, just to sort of give you an idea of what we're going for. I'm going to select everything. I'm going to go to UV. I'm going to say unwrap. And as you can see, all of these things right now are fitted within the UV space, and everything looks clean. You can read anything, even the smaller squares right here are squarish. Everything looks a-okay. What you're going to notice, however, is that the space here isn't used as much as it should be. And in games, you usually need to sort of use as much of the texture space as you can. So basically, we're going to tweak this a bit using Blender's automatic algorithms. So we're going to go to UV, average island scale, which didn't do much here because everything's pretty much even. And then we're going to do back islands, which is going to use as much space as it can for these. And right now we're using more of the texture. You can see that they become bigger. And we're able to see these things in action. So these are the absolute basics of UVing. We're going to see how UVing stuff fits into a texture painting pipeline in the upcoming videos.